Yeah, I feel that. I'm tired. All right, so we're supposed to do 12 and 13 this week, but we got to do 12, 13, and 14. 12's pretty long. Pretty long. I'm going to brief, because some of that we've already talked about, and it's pretty simple. Some of it's just, y'all have done it before. I'm going to go through it. We might have to have class Thursday to finish up 13 and 14. So do 12 today and 13 and 14 Thursday. I know that's just a bummer, isn't it? Yeah. I want to see y'all one more time. I've had such an easy semester. I've been so nice to y'all this semester. I got to be mean on one thing. Now, see, I like when I have students in the summer because y'all think I'm all nice, and you come in on some fall and you're like, man, that's mean, man. He's so mean. Let's just see where we are. We'll just do it. Who? Oh no, I'll be in there. Get out a 5-page paper in 10 minutes. But when you start getting up to master's and doctorate level, you have to write like 10, 20-page papers every week. And you get to where you can just write, okay, yeah, that's 10 pages of garbage that they don't ever read anyway. You see what I mean? So make sure that you got your references, and you must have at least 5 references. 3 to 5 references is what ours, yeah. The more you do it, you do so many of them, you just regurgitate them out. Look, more than anything in the world, I hate writing. Everybody asks me that, and there's really not a ton. This is just 232, right? Because I teach the second C++ class too. You can get the book if you want to go ahead and buy it. It's cheap. Begging strips, beginning C. Beginning C++ through game programming, 4th edition. It is, what, $26? Yeah. And I use it for 2 semesters, so it's really $13 for you. Yep. Try that. Go ahead and start reading. Programming those. It's not like if you've taken history or you're given, okay, you got all these terms from 1750 to 1900, and you got to learn those terms and understand the timelines and this. And it's a lot of study, but it's really just a lot of terms. Programming is not like that. Programming is not a term. It's a way of thinking. How you have to program your mind to think like solving problems. So terms are good. You need to know terms, but terms aren't going to help you solve problems. You can know all the terms in the world and still be a terrible programmer. It's why does the formula work? Now that's more programming. It's what's behind the formula. It's how do you put it all together to make this program? It's a language. This is why I think it's difficult, because it's left brain, right brain. Those things are one dominant, where left brain dominant, you do this, your right brain dominant. Programming is kind of both, because there's an art to it, but there's also math kind of. It's not like formulas, but it's the way you approach math. Solving problems. Proofs. Did y'all ever do proofs in high school? Geometry. That's programming. That really is how you think. If perpendicular angles are equal, then this angle equals B and B equals C, and that's how you think about it. So it's really, so that's why it's so difficult. for a lot of people because and some students take a while to get it. It takes longer. Now, I use my wife as an example. Everything she contemplates is very slow, but she's brilliant. It takes her time to process. Some people process quicker. Some people are witty. The ones that are witty comedians. Some people just pick up on it. Anyway, fun though. Programming is probably one of the most rewarding experiences. Yep. Yeah, they're saying now that programming is going to be. I thought y'all were sharing alcohol over there. Hey, it's beer. It's I don't even know what I was saying now. The beer got me. I need a drink. Anybody need a drink, or is it just me? End of semester, we're almost done. Oh man, just for a few weeks. Who cares? What are they going to get? Your grade? That ain't going to hurt you. They're going to try to get your grant? Oh, well, I guarantee you somebody knows everything about all of us somewhere. It's kind of scary though, isn't it? Now, if they start using your social, now you got a problem. But that would be a problem. Everybody knows what that means. Malware is malicious hardware or software. Do you know you can have your hardware? Because even hardware, you talk about your firmware. That's all software stored in your hardware on your computer, like on the motherboard. There used to be, I don't know if they still have them, but there were some very nasty viruses you could get in your firmware. It could destroy your whole motherboard. I mean, it was bad. Oh yeah, anything that has software can be, which is everything. Hardware doesn't run unless it has what? Something telling it what to do. So malicious ware. Trojans. Think of a Trojan. Y'all know the Greek story. The Greeks, the Trojan horse, where they were all piled up in there, and they all got drunk that night, and the Greeks come jumping out of the horse. If I saw a big horse that big, I'd have shot it. Bam, 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 bam. You know what? At least throw arrows in it or something. And the first, they'd have known somebody was in there, and they just tore it up. Yeah, set it on fire. Let's burn this in tribute. So that's what a Trojan horse is. It piggyback on another program, a program that you trust. And you trust it, and you run it, and boom, it opens up. We did it one time doing a security class. We actually made Trojans. We would take viruses and put them in with regular applications, and the application would install the virus. It was creepy. So some of the malware, worms, adware, spyware, ransomware, rootkits. Ransomware is big now, where they hold your computer ransom. Worms, this is a self-replicating. One thing about a virus needs what? A host. Think of like a virus, a cold. It has to have a host in order to operate. Worms don't need that. They can spread automatically. They exploit known vulnerabilities in legitimate software. Adware, everybody knows. Phishing, this is not throwing your real out, but it really is. Because you got the hook, but it's spelled with a PH, like phishing. For information, this and social engineering, because that's what you're doing, is probably the number one way to gain access to systems. Now with 256-bit, 512K bit systems, encryptions, hackers aren't just able to hack in and and brute force their way into systems. They go and talk to people, and they get their password. Do you know that the number one way in the world for people to break into your system is people giving their password out? Did y'all know that? People give their password out. They do it. Do y'all know any high-case people that have just done that recently? Do what? Y'all don't watch the news, do you? Okay. No. The DNC, Podesta gave out his password, and he got hacked. He gave out his password. Now, what do we teach? They tried to get into the RNC, but the RNC didn't give out passwords, so they couldn't break in there. So he gave out a password, so they got broken into. Now, when you break into a system, are you after normally the person you break into? No, you're after admin. So you use that to escalate yourself to a higher account. Do not, I don't care who it is, give out your password. No self-respecting place would ever ask you for a password. And if it does ask you for a password, say no. What you can do, if they need to get in, I had a guy wanting my password to my router so he could work. I said, I am not giving you my password. I will go in and change the password to 123 so you can log in and do some work, but I am not giving you my password. Because most people use the same password for a lot of sites, right? So, phishing. They're talking to people, phishing information. Spamming. It goes straight to my spam folder, doesn't it? But imagine when we didn't have spam folders. I just filled up gobs and gobs of pages of crap. Okay, now there are TCP/IP attacks. You got denial of service. That's probably the biggest one, denial of service. If you have let's take World of Warcraft, a gaming server. If its job is to serve a game, well, what happens if I inundate it with attacks and it can't process the game? It's too busy fighting off attacks. So you're basically denying service. You're denying what that server is meant for. And that's a big denial of service. And you'll hear that. DOS, DDoS, distributed DOS, synchronization flood, spoofing, DOS attack is. I'm going to send so many pings on to anyone else. So this web server can't respond to these other computers because I'm too busy keeping it locked down doing other things. This is big. You hear this all the time. The synchronization bit is how computers communicate. I send you a synchronization. I want to talk with you. You send me an acknowledgement, and I send you a synchronized acknowledgement. That three-way handshake to let you know that we're communicating. Tag, the synchronization. And in the middle, you may be talking to this server, but I could break in, and now you're communicating with me, and you think I'm the server. See how that goes? So you think you're talking to the server, but you're not. So I'm kind of the man in the middle. Basically, the first day this vulnerability has been. Social engineering, this is the other one I mentioned. Let's say I could do this. Now this is okay. Let's do this. I'm going to do it here. Okay. I'm going to go. I'm going to type in APC.exe. Third. How do I know? Is this all these are storefronts? I don't know. Are these storefronts? So ATC registered to Aiken Technical College. Who is the administrative contact? Walter Busby. He's the ISM director. Huh. That's some pretty good information. Okay. Hey, Robin, you work here. Oh, and also the technical contact is Michael Rain. Huh. Here's a DNS. Robin works here. Robin works in the finance building. I called Robin and said, Robin, hey, it's Michael Rain. How are you? Oh, I'm fine, Michael. How are you doing? I'm fine. Look here. We need your username and password because we're working on the system. We got to bring you down. Oh, that's no big deal. Here you go. Happens all the time. Social engineering. And I just did something simple. I just found out all these phone numbers. Look, I even got phone numbers. All this is public information. Every bit of it. In other words, verify who's saying they need your password. If they're asking for your password, that's one thing that this college is told the first thing. They will never ask you for a password. If they ask you for a password, you know it's not them. Okay? You never get out your password. Now, I got my mama's password. I mean, even then I'm like, Mama, I'm uncomfortable taking your password now, but I do have her password. So. Words. I'm going to tell you what, some of these security policies just drive me crazy. So every 3 months they change your password and it can't be something you've already used. It's got to be 8 letters, one uppercase capital letter, and something like an exclamation or something. So those can get kind of aggravating. And I'm sorry, they tell you not to write your passwords down. You have to. So now they have stored vaults where you can store your passwords if you need to go back into them. So you store them, like I think Amazon might have one. I know Apple has one where they keep up with your passwords. They're encrypted. So if you need to look up a password for something, you just go in and say, oh, there's my ATC username password. You've got so many. You've got so many accounts now, you've got to be able to keep up with it. Remote access policies, network maintenance policies, how to handle incidences. Wherever you work, they're going to have security policies, and you've got to follow those. Follow those. Talked about these before, account policies, firewall policies. All these are in the local security. We can set these. We can set, hey, we want a password that you have to change it. You can set that. Complexity, these are for passwords. For policies. Security pop-up blockers. Is everybody using a pop-up blocker? How about adware? You use ad removal software. I do too. In private browsing, how many have you used? Incognito window. Yeah. What is incognito window? What's that mean? Well, actually, it is. But if somebody went to your browser, they would not see what you've searched for or what you've logged to. Whereas if you go to your regular browser, all that's stored in the history. There is no history for incognito. But it doesn't matter because everything you've done on the internet is somebody has it. Because it still has to go through your ISP. It still has to go through your virus check. So when browsing the web, parties, and they may be malicious. Be careful about ActiveX filtering. thing's going to HTML6 now, so they're getting away from ActiveX kind of controls. Pop-up blocker, we have that one. Feature detects phishing websites, analyze phishing website. One thing I hate is it's like, hey, see if you qualify for this $100,000 loan. You put your name in. Oh, well, how old are you? You put this in, you put this in. You're like, this is great. And all of a sudden, what's your address and your telephone number? So we can send this to them. Like, yeah, done. Because they're fishing for information. They get you locked in. It's called clickbait, right? Clickbait. Just bait you to click. Check out these fine ladies. You click on and it's a beer commercial or something like that. Serious, that's how they use the internet. They use it in a way to get you to click on it. And then when you do, you find out it's not what you clicked on. And you have to be very careful what you click on nowadays. Okay. Windows calls it in private browsing. It's the same. Firewall. What is a firewall? Purpose of a firewall. Do this. So here's your ISP. That would be your ISP. Computer will have a firewall on it. Usually, your virus checker comes with a firewall, so every computer will have a firewall, meaning there are ports. Remember we were talking about ports that can be opened? The purpose of the firewall is to stop malicious people from breaking in. It puts up a wall of fire to keep people from coming into your network unannounced. Now, is it 100%? No, but it is good. It does. If you've got McAfee or Norton or AVG, it comes with a firewall. Windows has its own firewall, and it's not terrible. I wouldn't recommend it for all, for everything, but I think that's what we do here. I think ours is just the Microsoft Defender. But that's what a firewall does. Unwanted connections out of your computer. You can add rules. Okay. You can add a rule and say, rule only allow this port or this program. Like one of the rules for mine is allow WoW to connect at this port and play this game. So some block all that. You have to open it. So, biometrics. Smart chips, aren't they? Those are pretty cool. Biometrics would be your eyes, your fingers, your DNA. Did y'all see Gattaca? Did I see Gattaca? Y'all don't watch any movies. What is up? Okay, so Gattaca was this movie that they could take your DNA and tell you when you were going to die, tell you what you were going to be, and they could look at you, as a baby and say, oh, you're never going to be this, never going to be that. So, yeah, I know. It was awful. And so that's a kind of a biometric. That's one of the fears of biometrics. They're trying stuff like that. They can read your DNA. They can read your thumbprints, your fingerprints. Y'all hadn't seen Gattaca? Y'all should see Gattaca. Talk. Key fobs. Everybody has a key fob now. Nowadays, how do they do it? Whenever they don't use these anymore. They just send a text to your phone, and you hit yes or no. That is me, and they're like, okay, you're in. Isn't that cool? Don't even need the fobs with the numbers anymore. Encrypted numbers. Data backups. File and folder permissions. There's another ways to stop security problems. Encrypting. What is encryption? Okay, think of something as clear text. If I wrote my name here, let's do paint again. Okay, so let's say for the letter A, we're going to give it the number 18. For B, we're going to give it 19. Blah, 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 blah. You know, all the numbers, all the way to Z. Now, if I gave you some numbers like 25, 13, 4, okay, that's an encrypted message, right? Because 25 does not equal Y, like it normally would. 25 would now be B, C, D, E, F, G, H, H or something like that. You see what I mean? So we've changed the message. We've encrypted the message a little bit. Now, the encryption methods we use today are highly advanced. This is like a simple, I got this from Little Annie's secret decoder ring from the BB gun boy. You know, Christmas story. He wanted a little orphan Annie pen. Ended up being a commercial. Be sure to drink your Ovaltine. Y'all hadn't seen that movie? Oh, that's a great movie. So he did that. He got that's how it was. It was just a simple encryption. But that's how encryption works. Encrypts the message. So if we have a message, let's say I put my last name Wiggins. It scrambles it up and it becomes a 16-bit digit. 1288845 blah, blah, blah. I don't know. And you're like, what is that? That doesn't even look like a message. Well, it doesn't until you apply the encryption key to it. Once you apply the encryption key, it takes it and unscrambles it and puts it back together. So that's how encryption works. So you've got a word, you encrypt it, you send it, that person takes their key and uncrypts it, and then they can read it. So that's how encryption works. BitLocker, encrypt your entire hard drive if someone stole your hard drive. Data wiping, and no, you do not wipe it with a rag. Me like with a rag. Anyway, I'm just picking on Hillary. Y'all remember her saying that, right? Hard drives you have were white. You mean with a rag? Y'all don't remember? Y'all don't watch no TV, do you? There's some funny stuff on TV, and y'all miss it. A lot of anger too, but and a laugh. Laughing because you're not to be angry. You can wipe these. How do we wipe these? You ever heard of bleach bit? That's what someone was talking about, bleach bit. You can take a magnet. I said, you got a degaussing wand, that'll mess it up right there. Yeah, all the information. Because how is this information put on? Magnetically. Say that, magnetically. Oh, it will. Yeah. Or you can burn it. It's always good. Okay, so you can wipe the data. There's also what's called low-level format. See, when you have a hard drive and it's formatted, let's say I have a message. I'm going to do this. I can't get enough of paint today. This is just a visual representation. Terrible. That's terrible, okay? So, in these sectors, when I delete information, it doesn't really delete everything around it necessarily. What it does is it says, okay, when I delete this, it says these positions here are now open for you to put other data into them. Doesn't necessarily mean that it has overwritten it. It's still there. It just flags it as you can start using this because this spot has been over. Now you can overwrite this position. So sometimes you'll go in question mark T, like if you're using some sort of software. If you've ever damaged your hard drive and you send it off, a lot of these companies charge $500 just to look at it. And they can't guarantee they can pull the data off. Is that rain? Good. Good. Time to go. So deleting doesn't necessarily mean you delete it. So if you go on your computer and you delete all that bad stuff you're looking at, it still can be there. Someone can still find it. If you want to get rid of it, you better bleach it or degauss it or low-level format it to where it's actually gone, because it can still be there. That too, but even doing that, these disks are still in somewhat tact. They might be able to pull data off of them. I recommend melting it. If you melt it down to nothing, goodbye. No one's ever going to find it. Signatures, nowadays we do what's called digital signatures. Basically, when Microsoft updates, it says that is a digitally signatured file, and you can trust it because it's from Microsoft. Your computer will scream at you if you try to install something that's not digitally signed anymore. Wait a minute, we don't know what this is. This is your fault if you click yes. I know it. Not the drug hash. Kind of does the same thing that what hash does. It scrambles your mind. You know, maybe that's why they call it hash. Because, scrambles. So this is hash encoding, symmetric encryption, and asymmetric. So let's look at hash. So they use an algorithm, SHA or MD5. This is a message digest. Here is the quote you requested. Sender enters message to be hash encoded. The hash algorithm produces a message digest based on this here. So here is the quote you requested. It becomes A7, DEA, 89, DCA. You see how it's encrypted. All right? The message is transmitted over the network, secure or unsecure, and sender sends message digest along with the message. Okay? If digest is not identical, message has been changed or tampered with. All right? So if the message comes in and this hash, this digest is different, then we've got a problem. So you can't trust it. Okay? Now symmetrical, sender enters message to be decrypted. We got a secret key encode message. So using a symmetric encryption, you both have to have the same key, right? So I have to give you a key, I have to have the key, right? So when I do a message, it encrypts it, it sends it to me. I use that key that we both agreed upon to decrypt it, and now we have the message. The problem with that is what? What happens if you want to change the key? You got to get it to the other party. How do you do that? Well, you got to email. Well, there's your problem, because now that can be hacked. Okay, so you see the problem. Or you can it could be somebody close, y'all can just agree upon it and walk it to the other side. There is a problem because of that. Well, in comes asymmetric. So the sender, okay, enters a message to be encrypted. Public key. So this receiver has a public key. Anybody can have that public key. Anybody can get that public key. So we send it. The receiver enters a security private key to code the message. Only this user private key that works with that public key. Okay? So it doesn't matter who gets it. I can give you my public key and give you my public key. Guess what you don't have? You don't have my private key. And the private key is what I use to decode the public key. Okay? So I can give you the public key. I can send it in an email. Oh, I've changed my private key, but here's the public key for it. You don't need the private key. You encrypt the message using the public key, When you send it to me, I'll use my private key to decode it. Okay? That's cool. Now you can send it. You don't have to worry about anybody getting your private key. Only you know it. The person you send it to doesn't even need to know it. They don't need to know it. They just need your public key. Now, I'm really glossing quickly over a lot of that. 209 is not meant to get into too much detail with that. There are security and hacking classes some of you will get into that go into that much deeper. So, SSIDs are the turn on your phone and you see the wireless. That's the SID. SSID is the security ID. Different security modes. We got WEP, WPA, WPA2. WPA2 personal is what most of you are using now. That's the newer encryption algorithm. Why is wireless a little slower than connected? Wireless uses what? If y'all remember this? I can't hear you. Well, I mean, yeah, wireless is like a satellite, but thinking about it in terms of security, okay, and carrier sense. Remember, what is 802.11? That's the Wi-Fi protocol. It uses what? Carrier sense, collision. Y'all don't remember, do you? Bless y'all's heart. Ethernet uses what? Carrier sense, collision. Nope. Ethernet uses detection. Wireless uses avoidance. Okay? So Ethernet uses detection, meaning they're all going to be collisions. Wi-Fi uses avoidance, meaning you won't have a collision, which therefore is a little slower. Okay? But we're also using encryption. Why do we have to have encryption? Because you're sending stuff, clear text, through the airwaves, and people can intercept those. Okay? So having encryption. So we don't normally encrypt stuff just on our local networks, do we? But if we're doing Wi-Fi, we encrypt it because we don't want to see anybody logging in, right? Okay? So that can cause connection, and it's probably a little slower. A steady, good connection is always better than, man, something itching my nose in this room. I'm going to go get my humidity checker. I bet this place has mold, don't it? Oh, I was looking for a detection thing. Things right there, something. Mold is. Oh, I always itch, yeah. Firmware updates always keep. But let me do this. R7000 firmware. Here it is. Security advisory for post-authentication command injection on some gateways and routers. It's all of them. This is all routers. So whatever router you have, you might want to go look and see what's affected. But 7000 is anything running prior to 9.28. And this is a very nasty hack. And routers. So this is causing a lot of problems. And this hit a lot of routers. So whatever router you have, go home and you might want to check it out. Because you might need to update to a newer firmware to kind of keep you safe from these hacks here. And then again, nothing might never happen. But I like to update. I like to keep mine updated. Firewalls, blah, blah, blah. Port forwarding and port triggering, we're not going to get to. The computer only when they did. Physical equipment, fingerprint scans. If ever, some of you networkers, if you get a chance, maybe you'll go visit. Sometimes we'll go to SRP and let you see their rooms. When you walk into their computer rooms, it's freezing cold. I love it. They got systems in there in case there's fire. They got backup systems. We're talking, these are massive data centers. Picture. And this stuff is, look at this. Got to have something. If something happens, you got to be able to put out the fires. Little things on a bicycle. Tamika, are you popping gum? Where's that Sam? Sam, are you popping gum? What are you popping? So quiet though, and then all of a sudden I just get thinking, Tamika, you're not quiet. So actually, you are quiet. I can't ever hear you. Oh, that's too funny. Check for updates. It's candy? What kind of candy? Ever heard that sound on candy? Gum I have. Herbal. Okay, I got it. Candy weed or something. Oh, it's old candy? That's too funny. Ugh, gross. Root beer. All right, let's keep looking. Stuff is managing accounts, setting passwords, managing groups. We've already done all this. And, of course, identify problems. Test theories, security. What do y'all say? What y'all rather do? We could finish up. Go through the material. There's not much left. I mean, it's y'all taken the assessments. They're easy. It's not like they're hard. So, y'all want to finish up? Get rid of 13 and 14. Do it now, and then we won't be back Thursday. Y'all can use that to do your assessment. What's that? Do it. Tone low. How did it start? And that's how it starts. Let's do it. Old people music. Never heard this. Never heard of Wildfire? Okay, I know you have. Chinese, man. Probably when it come out. That's not old music. Old music is like music from the 1500s, man. That's old music. Thanks, Sam. Now I feel old. IT expected. What do you need to be professional? And that's what chapter 13 is about. And I'm going to share with you some of my years of working in the industry, what I think how I think you should be, how I think you should think, how you should deal with people. It's not easy. Dealing with people is hard. Communication seems to be the hardest. How do you communicate to someone that their computer's messed up, or how do you communicate with them to calm down because they don't really know what they're talking about and you're trying to help them? You know what I mean. It's hard dealing with people. Soft skills. Soft skills are the most important thing in any. I think they're important in any business. Definitely in computers. To me, there are two people that most people always need. That's a computer professional and a doctor, and maybe a mechanic too. I mean, you think about it. We'll put three. And a doctor, if you go up to a doctor and just say, "Hey, doc, can you look at me?" They're going to say, "No, I want you to come in and pay $1 million." Okay. So computer people, they expect you to help them right there. And it's kind of the same thing, that there's so much, like someone will come to me, "Clint, do you know this software?" I've never heard of it. Ain't you the computer professional? Do you do that to a doctor? You go to a general practitioner, and you're like, "You need brain surgery or something." Well, why can't you do it? I'm not. You're a doctor, ain't you? That is kind of that same mentality. There's so much in computers and programs. You know, I can get a feel for a program, but I got to study a program just like everybody else. How do you use these soft skills? And it's hard. Always try to be courteous, and even when you're in a bad mood, being nice is hard when you're in a bad mood, isn't it? I can't do it. I'm bad. Sometimes when I'm in a bad mood, I have to go in my room and shut the door. If I don't say anything, I'll feel regretted by later. Always be professional. Okay. On your interview, how should you dress? Professional. What does that mean? Well, yeah. And women can wear slacks or dresses. Men usually pants and nice shirts with a tie and coat. Remember, your first impression is the one they will remember. In our 265 class, you do have to dress up and present. We require that of all 265 students. So it's something you'll get used to here, and we'll give you plenty of practice doing interviews and being professional. How do you determine customer problems? Well, you have to be patient. Questions. Call the customer by their name. Act like you know them. I mean, these people, I'm going to tell you, 99% of most calls, people calling they're in panic mode. So you have to calm them down. You have to let them know you care. You're working with them. You're problem with them. I understand. Customer, unless they're just droning on. And if they drone on, yes, sometimes you will have to. I don't agree with this. I think there is a time to interrupt the customer, but not quickly, and do it nicely. Put a customer on hold without an explanation. I agree with this. Never say I need to put you on hold. Click. Say I need to put you on hold because I need someone else to look at this problem. Is that okay? Assume that your time is more valuable than the customer's time. Remember, you're being paid for this. The customer's paying you to do this. So, a lot of this is just kind of common. Be courteous. How would you like to be treated? That's really what a lot of these soft skills are. Now, I say that hesitantly because the age group today doesn't like to be treated like I was raised to be treated. Like no sir, no ma'am. That was big when I'm growing up. It's not as big today. I don't hear it as much. But we instill it in my son. Because it's a term of respect. As a matter of fact, Coach Carter. Huh? Yeah. With Samuel L. Jackson, right? Sir, video. Let me
You shooting.
about to say so. I don't think he says anything bad.
You shooting ball. What's your name, sir? Say loud, but ain't no sir.
You're not a sir. Well, are you a madam? As of now, you are a sir. So are the rest of you. Sir is a term of respect. And you will have my respect until you abuse it.
I think that's great. I think that's a great thing to instill. It's good to say sir, no ma'am, no sir, yes ma'am, yes sir. Those are terms, even with your peers. Like me and my friends, we'll call each other, how you doing, sir? Just a term of respect. It's a respect. I think that's good. Treat the customer with respect. That's how I would want to be treated. Even if you don't like those names or those terms, you still don't want to be treated like trash, do you? So don't treat others like that. So pretty much common sense on board. Where you can lose your patience pretty quick. Keep the customer on the problem. Okay? Unless you just get someone that talks and you like to talk, then it's okay to talk a little bit. It kind of loosens up the conversation. Talk. Gather as much information. Ask as many close-ended questions. Yes or no? No. Open-ended, they can elaborate. Called netiquette. Polite. Never exchange letters via email. Case. Please do not send me something all uppercase is considered shouting. Okay? Spelling before you post. That kills me when I get a ton of grammar and spelling errors. I'm like, we have spelling check. I'm a terrible speller, so I'm not going to call you out big time. But there are some, you have to, some words you probably do need to spell check. I mean, just never mail or post anything you would not say to someone's face. Now, that's me right there. If you're going to type it, you need to say it too. Be ethical. Be pleasant. Be polite. Think this will never be your job, will it? When I said be pleasant and polite, I thought to make a laugh, and I thought you was like, man, that'll never be me. Yeah, you're very polite. You're very pleasant and polite. This is a call board. Time and stress management techniques. Ways to relax. Practice breathing. Listen to soothing examples. Take a break. Sam say smoke weed. He did say it, didn't he? Yeah, but that might take you into another realm. Oh, okay. Just recreation. Level agreement, these are SLAs. I agree to do this for a certain amount. You might have an SLA with somebody, it might be $100 a month. So if I had 20 businesses paying me $100 a month, okay, which isn't a ton, but my job is to take care of those companies, whatever they need. That if this happens, I'll fix this based on this. Call policies, business policy, business rules, customer satisfaction. Considerations. The law, yep. There's always a legal aspect to everything. Not permissible to make any changes to system software without customer permission is not. Or co-worker's account without permission. So these are some legal aspects. Licensing. Is it legal to have a pirated copy of Windows on your computer? No. But I'm sure some do it. I'm not hurting anybody. Just one. Does anybody watch NCIS? They did a good show. But that show is nothing like real computer forensics is. Computer forensics can be really boring. Y'all know that? You could be spending a lot of time just doing nothing, just waiting. You know how the turnaround on NCIS is like 2 minutes? Some of those things she sends off for take like a month to get back. I mean, yeah. I bet that was fun. Forensics is cool now. NCIS made it look cool, but it's not as cool as it looks on TV. Never is it? Counterfeit goods, pirated software. There is no law known as cyber law. It's a term to describe international, regional, country, and state laws that affect computer security professionals. Wiretaps, pin traps, and trace statutes. Stored Electronics Communications Act. Did we already talk about? I think we already talked about. Did we talk about it? Yeah. What was it? You forgot, but we talked about it. Okay. Okay. Yeah, y'all know what I'm talking about, right? What is it? The No Idea Act of. No, the computer thing. Do what? No, it's coming. Y'all know. What's the one? What's the one that it got a lot of everybody was all up in arms and because that's what the media does. They get everybody all up in arms, and everybody got all up in arms, and then come to find out the media lied. The Computer Act, the big computer thing, net neutrality. That's it, net neutrality. Did we talk about? We talked about that a little bit, right? Do what? In the 201, we didn't talk in here much about it. I think I mentioned it, didn't I? Y'all remember? Y'all know what net neutrality is, or what it was? See, nobody does. All they know is it was the media said it's bad. That's all you know. The media, and I'm going to tell you, when the media says it, you need to just question them. What net neutrality was, it was taking computer internet, and putting it under Class 2, which was under the Communication Act of 1964. In other words, internet would have now been regulated by the federal government. It was a regulation ploy. Right now, the internet is a Class 1. It's not considered controlled by the government, which is good. If it's not controlled by the government can't do what? Tax it, and then tell you what you can and cannot post. Then they'll get to decide what they determine. That's what happened with net neutrality. The good thing is, and the way they sold it was, well then these companies can just cut you off and tell you, and they can just charge you more. That never happened. They were just trying to spear mongering. That's what media does. They just out up and they use you and abuse you and just leave you burn out. But that's what that was the thing. It was put under the Communications Act, but it was taken out and put back into Class 1. So now the government doesn't have oversight over it, which is good. They can't tax it and they can't regulate it. What's that? Okay. So anyway, that's interesting. If you're interested, I think y'all should, as computer professionals, y'all should read up on this. Go read up on net neutrality. Find out what it really is. What's that? Got to sift through a lot of stuff to find the truth, because it is. One thing I've learned, if it's a fear tactic, it's usually wrong. Because if someone has to fear you into believing something, then why don't you just tell me the truth and let me decide if it's not? That means they don't trust you to come up to their conclusion. So if someone ever tries to fear you like that, always question it. Chain of custodies, blah, blah, blah. Call centers. Anybody work at a call center? Yeah, Tamika. You still do? No. Worked at where? Oh, okay. No, I mean like a call center where you got people. Call centers. They are high stress. Now, usually there's different levels of technicians. If you call a call center, the first thing they're going to do is have you reboot your computer, do this, all the simple stuff. If they can't fix it by that, because 90% of problems can be fixed doing some of that. If they can't fix it immediately, it elevates to a level 2. Level 2 are your more experts. They've been in the field for years. They have the background. They're more engineer-like. And it could be level 3 is like the ones that, like level 3 would be Bill Gates. You see what I mean? Someone brilliant that you would talk to. They can fix your problem. Level 2 responsibilities. Pretty much it for chapter 13. Basically, 13 is how to be an IT professional. Be courteous, be kind, treat people like you'd want to be treated. Advanced troubleshooting. Other 6 steps. It's getting hot in here now, isn't it? I thought it was cold when we come in. Steps, we know the 6 steps. Problems. Now, kind of problems can be fixed with simple, but then there are problems. Let's say I hook a hard drive in and I cannot find the hard drive. Now we have a problem. Have I connected to the right connector? Is there power going to it? Do I need to figure the BIOS to see the hard drive? Now we have more advanced problems. So here's some advanced problems and solutions for hardware. A computer exhibits slow. How much RAM does it have? That's always Microsoft's question. How much RAM? Install additional fans. My computer's overheating. Got dust buildup. You need to clean it. Valid boot disk. That's the big one. Or the master boot record could be corrupt. Recovery options, run virus removal, replace the hard drive. This is more advanced because now you're getting into, hey, none of this is working. We need to reinstall your operating system. That's big time. All right, because if you go to reinstall an operating system, you got to do what? You have to reinstall all their software that was on there and make sure they have backups of everything. And that gets to be a big deal, and it becomes costly. Computer can connect to a network by the IP address, but not by the host name. If I can work with the IP address, I can't do the host name, then I got a DNS issue. Something's not resolving properly. Does not obtain or renew the IP address on the network. Static. Firewall is blocking. Enable computer to obtain. So these are some more advanced ways of looking at. Here's some possible problems with malware. Windows 7 or Windows Vista computer starts with the error message, error loading operating system. A virus has damaged the master boot record. Repair the computer, but we got to get the virus off too. If you go to McAfee or Norton, they should have removal tools that are removed while the system's not in Windows. Like you plug it in, it boots to a flash or something, and it boots pre-Windows, where it can try to remove viruses there also. Windows 7 will not boot. A virus has damaged the Windows system files. Chapter 14 is just some advanced ways of looking at other issues. Any questions? So, Thursday. Assignments. That's all you'll do Thursday. No class. Remember, next week's the final. Go to Blackboard, get the times. I will be in the lab. You got to come in and take it while I'm in the lab. If you take it outside of the lab, I give you a 0. You got to take it in the lab. I got to watch you. Monitor it. So come to the lab. All right. Well, I'll see you next week. Yeah.